Welcome back to another episode of Sound 101. I am Andrew from Deity Microphones, and with me today is Katie and Marlon. Marlon is a production sound mixer here in Los Angeles, and he's going to teach us about doing interview audio on a budget. So let's get started. Just like that graphic said, this episode is all about getting interview audio, and today, Katie is actually going to be our talent all day. She will be the person giving us all the lovely sound bites. When you guys see what we're doing. Katie, we'll have you come back here in a second when we are ready for you, but you can go enjoy craft services. Right now, Marlon, you cannot enjoy craft services because I got some questions for you. Now, normally you do a lot of feature films and TV, but what have you been up to lately?
So for the last year or so, I've been working a lot on press junkets and promotional work for some major studios, and this is where talent is promoting the film, talking about the film, and whatever projects they have coming up. This is a lot of sit-down interviews, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about today.
That's exactly it. Even if you're a camera person watching, you got to know how to do a sit-down interview and frame it all up. But today we're only going to be talking about the audio portion of that. So here we are. We are on set. We've got lights set up. We've got an interview positioned.
All right.
What do we do? What's our first step?
Well, we've arrived. Talent's not here yet, so the first thing we could do is set up our room. And first thing we need for that is a C-stand. Obviously, you want something that's sturdy. Safety always has to come first.
Number one.
You need to make sure that your boom stays in place.
Right.
Last thing you want is a boom pole falling on top of your talent in the middle of an interview.
Then you get a meme.
You get a meme, you get a call from a producer, and none of that is pretty. Imagine your boom starts to fall, and it starts to fall forward. Key to that, making sure the knuckle is on the right side.
That's right. As it's falling, it's actually falling into the locking position, tightening itself up and preventing it from falling more.
Exactly. So as every grip who's ever scolded me has told me, righty-tighty.
So we've got our boom. Anything else down below that we need to worry about?
Well, we need to put a sandbag here to keep it stabilized.
Absolutely.
I always try to have the largest leg facing towards the same direction as my boom. If you don't have some kind of weight here, it's just going to topple over and it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, the idea being there, if it does fall, and you're talking the whole stand falling now, it's going to either go to the left or right of your set, not right into the set.
Exactly, and I do not want anything to ever endanger my talent or my crew.
Or your career.
Yes. So another big safety hazard that we have to be concerned of is our cable mess, because that is the number one trip hazard that you'll have on set. Say you do have to cable, I always grab a bongo tie or some kind of rubber band or anything I can and keep it as tight to the mic and stand as I can. And so I'll typically give it enough slack so that I can reposition my boom if I need to, and then just bongo tie it right to the C-stand. Also, it looks much better on camera. I've got my cable running along a wall somewhere where it's out of sight, out of mind, and out of someone's way. And then at that point, it's going right into my recorder.
Awesome.
We're gonna opt for a wireless option today to avoid the cable mess altogether.
Okay, let's get it set up.
Yep.
So the next part of the challenge is microphones. I'm gonna give you this on camera mic.
Okay. Well,
make the best of it.
Well, luckily this is a SUPERCARDIOID, and because we've got a big, wide open room, this is actually going to work great as our boom mic. Typically a boom microphone with the directionality, it tends to have an attenuated rear lobe, which would, in this big open space, will pick up all the echoes bouncing off the ceiling and give us kind of a nasty sound. This is a little bit more rounded out, not as directional, especially on the rear lobe, and it's gonna create a lot less of that echo effect and phasing that we would face in this kind of situation with a shotgun.
Absolutely, and we're taking it off the camera in this scenario, and you were gonna put it up on a pole, so let's kind of take a look at how we're gonna mic this all up.
Let's edit this part out.
So we've got our boom all set up. We've got our stand. Now let's talk about mic placement. Where are we trying to aim that microphone cone? Are we aiming here at the mouth, at the chest, a little bit in between?
Obviously, source of audio, right from our mouth. but we've got a much bigger target right on our chest. So I typically aim it right down below, and especially if you're doing kind of a doc series, or our talent isn't used to being on camera, they're not always gonna be in the same place. They're gonna be moving around a lot. They're gonna be doing whatever.
Squirm.
Yeah, even the biggest names squirm, and you have to account for that. So we're gonna place the mic a little bit actually out in front. We can account for them moving around a little bit. And also, great thing about the supercardioid mic is that it's a little bit more forgiving than the off axis. So in case they do move around, you're still gonna be able to make it sound great. Unfortunately, it's not all about us. We've got a ton of other departments that we're typically working with. You've got a lot of other aspects to consider, including lighting, including your frame line. So you always wanna make sure, as much as we can get this as close as possible, that we're out of the shot, that we're not casting any shadows, and other than that, we're good to go. We're gonna be able to actually kind of fine tune it on ourselves, get it set up, and then we'll fine tune it as the moment talent sets in, and we'll be good for the rest of the day.
There you go. So you got to think about shadows and your frame line. So Marlon, when do we use lavs for an interview?
Every job I do, primarily, I will have a lav as a redundancy. It's always gonna be there. I'm always gonna have it on me. But in most situations, I'm just gonna use in my mix whatever sounds the best. And a lot of my press junket work and a lot of other corporate clients, they will have maybe a logo in the background, some kind of graphic that they need to be seen. And so your frame line will be too high for the boom to really sound good. So in those kind of situations, I'm gonna play most everything off the lav.
So now we have an understanding of why we're using lavs. Let's have Katie come on back. And Katie, Marlon will be laving you up.
Hi, I'm Marlon. Okay. Nice to meet you. I'm gonna mic you up today. Have you ever done this before?
Yes.
All right, great. Now, the reason why I did that, it's always important to build a rapport with your talent and introduce yourself. Make sure that they know what you're about to do, because you're about to invade their personal space, and it could get a little awkward if you don't.
Yeah.
So we're gonna grab our lav, and one of the most important aspects of miking up any talent, especially with an E&G setup, you always wanna create some level of strain relief. We've got a pretty standard GATOR clip, which is typical for E&G interviews. We're gonna loop that around and clip it right into the GATOR clip itself. Creates a nice little space, also creates strain relief, because as you see this pull, that's never going to pull down all the way. It's going to save the mic from any kind of potential damage, as well as hopefully release some cable noise.
Okay. Now we're putting it on the left side because that's the side she's actually going to be talking to camera. You want to put the lav on whichever side the head is looking for the rule of thirds.
And then we're going to loop this around. We're going to put this right onto the back of Katie's pants. Like I said, you're invading someone's personal space, so if they're more comfortable doing something themselves, let them. And you can always make adjustments after and just let them know that what you're about to do. So from here, I'm gonna grab a little bit of tape. In this case, this is breathable medical tape. This is a little bit of a tricky material only because it's so porous, but I'm gonna try to find as much as I can that it's not showing on the fabric. So I think right about here looks good. You can't really see the wire going down. I'm gonna put that tape there, and I'm using a white tape specifically because the color of the wardrobe. I'm gonna just tuck that tape in so you can't really see it. And voila.
There you go. Wire's gone and looks nice and ready to go.
Yep, and we're ready for our interview.
So this is the time that we're talking about, when we're talking about mic placement, we're making those adjustments to account for height, account for posture, and future posture that may happen over the course of the interview, right?
Absolutely. Even though we're indoors, you always want to have a little bit of wind protection, just because you may have the AC going, especially like we said, we want to make sure everyone's comfortable, everyone's safe. So in a lot of my work, we have to have the AC going just a little bit. So I'm going to borrow.
It's naked.
Yeah, I know, but so was that one. That's the problem. So I'm gonna borrow this. We're gonna put on a little bit of wind protection. And we are good to go there.
Now, what's a really good method that you have found for checking levels?
Most people will ask, especially if you're dealing with narrative work, they'll ask you to run through a few lines, they'll ask you to count to 10. They'll typically be really shy and give you a very low level and something that's not really realistic to what they're going to be doing.
Right.
So one of the tricks that I've found is I find something that people are actually interested in. The moment that you get somebody actually excited about what they're about to talk about, the energy comes up. Typically, it'll be a little bit more true to what you're going to get on camera than if we're in a very close personal space. So as something that's a little bit more personal, not invasive, but personal, something like, what did you have for breakfast?
What did you file on your taxes?
Or
real personal.
What's your favorite food? That'll get them really excited about what they're talking about and give you more realistic levels when you're dialing in for your shoot.
There you go. Well, let's get started. Let's dial it in. Let's do all this stuff. I think we're going to do some samples for you guys right now so you can hear what our interview sounds like.
So we do have some stiff competition, but you know, it's going really well so far. I think we're not in any stores yet, but we're rapidly approaching our release date. The only ingredients are peanut butter, jelly, and bread, but there are like about 150 varieties.
Well, there you guys have it, a whole episode dedicated to the sit-down interview and everything you need to know to get just a little bit better audio on your next shoot. Marlon, thank you for coming on. It's been a blast having you.
My pleasure. Glad I could step up to the challenge.
We got more challenges coming. If you've got a challenge you want, down in the comments below, you know where to put it. And we want to say thank you, Katie, for coming out and being our fabulous talent.
Thank you.
Well, we can't do these shows without you guys, so you've got to hit the subscribe button. You got to hit the bell. Go follow us on all the social media platforms. We're out there. I'm Andrew from Deity Microphones. Thank you for watching.